Have you ever caught him looking at you when he thought you weren't paying attention? That extra second of stillness in his eyes, like he's seeing something he didn't expect but can't look away from. Or how his voice shifts ever so slightly when he speaks only to you. When a man's soul begins to shift around your presence, it's not coincidence, it's alignment. You're not just a part of his life, you're the reason he's rethinking it. Because love, real love, isn't always loud. It doesn't always announce itself with perfect words or predictable gestures. Sometimes it slips through the cracks of his conscious mind and begins to rewire his world before he even understands what's happening.
That's not just romance, that's frequency. And Napoleon Hill, the master of personal transformation, called it applied faith, the ability to act as if what you desire is already yours. Love is no different. When you carry the energy of a woman who knows her worth, you don't chase love. Love finds you. Today, I'll show you the signs that he's more in love with you than he realizes, because when you're aligned with your power, even a man's unconscious begins to respond. You won't need to decode every text. His soul will speak through his effort, his stillness, his return. Before we dive in, press the like button and subscribe if you're ready to master the mindset that doesn't just attract love, but anchors it, because you're not here to guess what he feels. You're here to understand what your presence is doing to him, even in silence. Let me ask you this. What happens to a compass when a powerful magnetic field enters its space? It moves. Not because it was told to, but because it has to. That's what you are. His compass has already started spinning. So here's your task. Comment these 3 words right now. Attract, align, awaken. Do it not just for him, but for the universe, and most importantly, for yourself. Because what's coming next is not a checklist, it's a decoding of energy, and once you see the first sign, you'll never unsee what his heart's been trying to say all along. Let's begin. Number 1, his attention shifts without trying. You want to know the first clue that a man is more in love with you than he realizes? It's this. His attention shifts, subtly, quietly, but unmistakably. Not in the loud, showy way some men flirt when they're trying to impress. No, this is different. This isn't performance. This is instinct. His attention begins to move in your direction, not because he planned it, but because something in him already decided you matter. Napoleon Hill once said, "Desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible." Let's break that down. Desire is not just wishing, it's focused emotional energy. Faith is the belief that what you desire is already on its way. When those two combine, desire and faith, you become unstoppable. And that's exactly what's happening when a man starts noticing you in ways he doesn't even understand. His energy has already picked up on yours. His focus shifts, and now the way he sees you, it changes without permission. You've probably seen this before. He asks about something you only mentioned once in passing. He notices that you're wearing a new scent, even though you never pointed it out. He picks up on your moods, even when you say, "I'm fine." This isn't the kind of attention that's looking to gain approval. This is what I call soul-level awareness. His subconscious mind, where all his true desire lives, has already started tracking you. Not in a creepy way, in a connected way, a resonant way. Have you ever had someone remember a detail you forgot you shared? Like how you once said your favorite coffee is a lavender oat latte, and weeks later, he brings it to you without you reminding him? That's not a coincidence. That's alignment. That's attention moved by emotion, not effort. Here's what's fun about this. Men don't always know why they're doing it. In fact, they'll often deny it if you ask. "Oh, I just remembered," he'll say casually. But he didn't remember because it was practical. He remembered because it was emotional. You lit up when you said it. and his subconscious filed it away under important to her equals important to me. This is when he starts noticing what's unspoken, like the way your energy changes in a room, or how you don't smile quite the same when something's bothering you. And he may not say anything, but he sees it, because he's watching now, not like an observer, but like someone who's already in it. Hill's quote is a reminder: when desire is real and powered by belief, it moves mountains. And in relationships, it moves attention. Even if the man hasn't consciously decided that he's all in, his actions will start leaning in. Not because of logic, because of vibration, because of you. And if right now you're thinking, but what if he's not showing me this kind of attention? Then this part is gold for you. Ask yourself, what energy am I emitting? Because Hill also said, you are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. When you shift your self-concept, your outer world, including his attention, shifts too. Remember, this isn't about forcing his eyes on you. It's about becoming the kind of woman whose energy makes people want to listen more closely, lean in, remember everything. And when you carry that energy, even the most emotionally guarded man starts to feel you before he can explain why.
So the next time he notices something you didn't expect him to, don't brush it off. That's not just attentiveness, that's attraction without intention. That's what it looks like when his desire starts building momentum beneath the surface.
And we're just getting started, because if you thought attention was powerful, wait until you see what happens when he starts thinking about you without understanding why. In the next section, we'll uncover how you begin to live in his imagination and why that's the real space where love takes root. Stay with me. It only gets better from here. Number 2, you enter his imagination uninvited. Here's where it gets even more fascinating, because once you've captured his subconscious attention, you don't just stay in his awareness, you start to live there. Not because you forced your way in, not because you constantly text him, hint at him, or remind him of your worth. No! You enter his imagination uninvited, the way a melody gets stuck in your head, or how a scent brings back a memory you didn't know still lived inside you. That's the kind of emotional imprint your presence begins to leave. Napoleon Hill called this phenomenon autosuggestion, the idea that the thoughts we emotionally charge and repeatedly dwell on will eventually express themselves through action. In Think and Grow Rich, he didn't just talk about visualizing wealth or success, he talked about repetition with feeling. Because it's not the thoughts you think once that shape your world, it's the ones you think with intensity again and again. And when a man starts emotionally reacting to your presence, even in your absence, you've become part of his inner repetition. That's power. So what does this look like in love? He's driving and something reminds him of you, a street name, a song, a quote on a billboard. He's with friends and they mention a trip, and suddenly you pop into his mind. She'd love that place. He's planning his next move, his goals, his schedule, even what he eats for dinner, and your energy is there. Not in a clingy, invasive way, but in that subtle, intimate way a woman's essence lingers when it's emotionally charged with meaning. He begins to consult you in his mind before he makes a decision. What would she think? Would she be proud of this? Would this make her smile? Even if he hasn't said a word, even if you're not official, not defined, not labeled, his inner world has started to shape itself around you. That's not surface attraction, that's soul-level influence. And the best part? He probably doesn't even realize he's doing it. That's how you know it's real, because the subconscious mind, as Hill teaches, works silently but relentlessly. It's like a gardener planting seeds behind the scenes. The conscious mind might still be figuring things out, but the heart, The deeper operating system is already at work. Let's flip the perspective for a moment. You've probably had this experience too. A man leaves a mark on you, not by saying all the right things, but by being energetically unforgettable. You hear a joke and want to tell him. You see a moment and think he'd love this. Hey, that's not strategy, that's suggestion. That's how the emotional mind builds stories. And here's the gold. When you enter his imagination, you start becoming part of his vision, not just his feelings, but his future. You become woven into his someday thoughts. And even if he hasn't admitted that to you or to himself, it's already happening. So don't underestimate the power of presence. You don't have to prove your worth. You just have to radiate it. And trust that if you've aligned with his frequency, he won't be able to forget you, even in silence.
And what comes next? Oh, it's even more revealing, because once you're living in his imagination, his behavior starts to shift in ways he can't explain. He starts to care for you without being asked. He starts to worry about you, protect you, prioritize you, not out of obligation, but instinct. That's the power of emotional investment. And that's what we're diving into next. Stay close.
Number 3, emotional investment without permission. Something begins to shift, quietly, undeniably, when a man starts making emotional investments without even realizing it. It's in the way he texts you just to check in, not because something urgent happened, but because some part of him feels unsettled when he hasn't heard from you. It's in how he suddenly wants to know if you made it home safe, if you've eaten, if your day was all right, even when he has nothing to gain from asking. That isn't strategy, that's soul. Napoleon Hill said the subconscious mind acts first on dominating desires. Think about that. The subconscious doesn't wait for logic or permission. It doesn't need a to-do list. It just moves instinctively, urgently, toward what the soul wants most. And when that desire is you, his behavior starts changing without any conscious plan. You haven't asked for more attention, but he gives it. You haven't demanded consistency, but suddenly he shows up with it. Why? Because his inner world has already decided that you're valuable, and we protect what we value. This isn't about him trying to impress you. Impressing is performative. This is deeper. This is about his masculine energy naturally doing what it's designed to do when something truly matters: provide, protect, prioritize. Even if he says he's not ready for a relationship, even if he claims he's unsure, his actions begin to tell another story entirely. That story is called emotional investment. And energy is currency. You only spend it where there's value.
But let me paint you a picture. Imagine a man who once lived freely, doing whatever he wanted with his time. Suddenly he's rearranging his schedule to see you. He remembers little things you said weeks ago and brings them up as if they've been looping in his mind. Maybe he even starts doing small things that make your life easier without you asking. That's not convenience. That's care. That's investment.
And here's the kicker, he probably can't explain why. If someone called him out on it, he might laugh it off or say, "I don't know, it just felt right." But you know, you're watching the subconscious mind in motion. Hill teaches that the dominating desires of our mind are what shape our reality. So when he starts building new habits around your presence, when he starts checking in, giving effort, making space, it's because he's already started building a life with you in it, whether he realizes it or not. Here's something you might need to hear. Just because he hasn't confessed his feelings yet doesn't mean they aren't alive. A man's heart often shows itself through action long before words catch up. And the wisest women don't panic over silence. They observe the pattern, the energy, the effort.
So if you find yourself wondering, does he care? Don't just look at what he says. Look at what he does when no one's watching. Does he protect your peace? Show up consistently? Remember things that matter to you? That's not a performance. That's his soul recognizing yours and taking action.
And this is just the beginning. Because emotional investment is one thing, but what happens next? His desire for distance starts to disappear. You'll notice that even when he pulls away, he can't stay gone for long. Something inside him calls him back, again and again. Why? Because the next phase of unconscious love is even more powerful. He starts feeling uncomfortable without you. That's what we'll uncover next. Stay with me, because it only gets deeper from here. Number 4, he becomes uncomfortable with distance. Here's the truth about distance. When a man is truly starting to feel something real, distance doesn't bring him freedom. It brings him restlessness. He might tell you he's unsure. He might say he needs space to think. But what actually happens, his thoughts double back to you. He lingers on your last message. He wonders what you're doing. And then, just when you start to release the tension, there he is again, popping back in, checking in, asking how you are as if no time has passed. Why? Because distance doesn't soothe him, it stirs him. Napoleon Hill taught, definiteness of purpose develops persistence. When you know what you want and you feel it in your bones, you naturally return to it. You pursue it with subtle urgency. You persist even if your conscious mind hasn't declared it out loud yet. That's exactly what happens when a man's heart is awakening to love. Even when he steps away physically, emotionally, or mentally, he can't stay gone for long, because his nervous system has already started to recognize you as a source of comfort, inspiration, and emotional gravity. Let's break this down in real life. Maybe you've seen him pull back. He needed space to figure things out, and so you gave it to him. You honored your own self-worth, didn't chase, didn't beg. But then, out of nowhere, he resurfaces. Not with grand confessions, but with little signals, a meme, a memory. Hey, I was just thinking of you. He doesn't know how to explain it, but the distance didn't give him clarity. It gave him contrast, and that contrast made him realize something was missing. That's you. See, this isn't just about texting or calls. It's about energetic discomfort. His internal system, his emotions, his mind, his instincts are adjusting to your presence. And when that presence disappears, the equilibrium breaks. Hill's wisdom applies here perfectly. Definiteness of purpose may not have formed in his conscious mind yet, but it's already at work in his emotional center. His soul has already started to anchor in your direction. And that soul knows she's part of the purpose now. What's beautiful is this. He doesn't even have to understand it for it to move him. That's the power of authentic resonance. Just like your favorite song doesn't need lyrics to make you cry, your energy doesn't need labels to create impact. You've become a pattern in his emotional rhythm. When it's absent, he feels the silence more than he expected.
And no, this doesn't mean he's broken or weak. It means he's human. We don't miss people we don't care about. We don't feel anxiety over losing something that doesn't matter. If he's restless in your absence, that's not confusion. That's connection, quietly becoming his new normal.
So the next time he circles back, don't be shocked. Don't question your worth. Understand what's really happening. His nervous system is just catching up to his desire. His heart has already chosen. You're just watching his logic try to make sense of it. And what comes next? Oh, it's the most beautiful shift yet, because once he realizes he doesn't feel whole without you, he starts changing his life to make room for you. His priorities, his habits, his time, all of it starts bending toward the relationship, even if he doesn't realize he's doing it. We're stepping into that next, and trust me, you're going to see just how powerful your presence really is. Number 5. His priorities begin to restructure. Something powerful happens when a man begins to fall for you on a level he hasn't even fully admitted to himself. His life starts shifting, not dramatically at first, but steadily, quietly, and in ways that even surprise him. His routines, his habits, his time management, even his language begin to change. And the most remarkable part? He's not doing it to impress you. He's doing it because suddenly it no longer makes sense to live the same way without you in mind. Napoleon Hill said, "When riches begin to come, they come so quickly, in such great abundance, that one wonders where they have been hiding." Love is a kind of wealth, emotional wealth. And when a man starts aligning with the frequency of a woman who elevates him, inspires him, and makes him feel seen, he doesn't just dip a toe in. His whole internal compass begins to swing in your direction, not with resistance, but with momentum. So what does this look like in real life? Maybe he was the kind of man who always made plans solo. Now he's suddenly asking what your schedule looks like before committing to something. Maybe he used to fill his time with distractions, but now he's more focused, more grounded, because he knows your energy responds best to depth, not chaos. Or maybe you mentioned once how much you value honesty, and now he's noticeably more transparent, even when he doesn't have to be. That's not coincidence. That's emotional recalibration. Hill's wisdom shows up here in the form of internal reorganization. True desire doesn't stay in theory. It shows up in how a person moves. When a man's heart starts choosing you, his mind begins to catch up, and his life begins to reflect that choice. He may not tell you he's changing, he might not even realize it consciously, but suddenly he's spending more time with you, more energy thinking about what would make you happy, more space in his world for a connection that actually matters. And don't confuse this with obligation. He's not shifting out of duty, he's evolving out of alignment. That's the difference between performance and purpose. Purpose doesn't have to try, it flows. And your presence, your frequency, has triggered something within him that makes the old way of doing things feel insufficient. It's not that he's abandoning who he was, it's that he's upgrading who he wants to become. Because being with you makes him want to rise. Here's something that might make you smile. When a man starts becoming a better version of himself, not because you asked, but because being around you feels like the next level, you're not just dating. You're influencing his legacy. That's the power of resonance. That's the power of feminine energy that leads without force. So if he starts asking bigger questions, making healthier choices, showing up more consistently, or simply rearranging his world to include you, don't underestimate what that means. You haven't just entered his heart. You've entered his blueprint. And the best part? This is just the beginning of that inner shift, because once he starts structuring his life around you, the next level begins. He starts inviting you into his vision, into the part of his life where goals live, where decisions are made, where the future is formed. And when you arrive there, you'll see what it really means to be more than a woman in his life. You become a partner in his purpose. We're going there next. And trust me, you'll feel just how deep this love can go. Number 6, he seeks your input without realizing it. There's a moment, quiet, unannounced, when a man begins to seek your input on things that have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with his life. Maybe he's talking about switching careers, making an investment, or taking a trip, and suddenly he asks, what do you think? And not in a passive way, not in a polite, conversational filler kind of way, but with genuine interest, like your opinion might tip the scales. That's not small talk, that's access, that's integration. Napoleon Hill called this concept the mastermind alliance, when two minds in harmony create a third, more powerful mind. Hill didn't apply this only to business. He understood that real power is exponential, not individual. So when a man begins inviting your thoughts into his world, even before he's fully defined what you are to him, he's signaling that you're more than a passing connection. You're starting to become part of his inner council. This doesn't always come in the form of grand conversations. Sometimes it's subtle. He's working on a project and casually mentions he wants your feedback. He sends you a voice note asking your take on something random. He talks about his goals, his 5-year plan, and looks at you like he's imagining where you'd fit. Or he asks for advice on something he'd normally handle solo. Pay attention. He's not doing that with just anyone. That's emotional elevation. He sees your mind as valuable, not just your beauty, not just your energy, your insight. And here's where it gets really rich. He doesn't even realize he's doing it. That's when you know it's real. He's not trying to flatter you. He's operating from a place of quiet inclusion. You're no longer a guest in his story. You've become a co-author. Hill's idea of a mastermind wasn't about control. It was about synergy. Two minds, two souls coming together to solve problems, expand visions, build legacies. A man in love, even before he says the words, begins doing this naturally. He starts to view your presence not as an accessory, but as a strategic advantage. Not because he's weak, but because love, when it's real, seeks alignment. It wants to consult, co-create, and collaborate. And maybe you're thinking, but he hasn't said anything about the future. That's okay. You don't need a speech. You need signs. And the sign here is this. When a man begins to plan with you in mind, you're no longer in the temporary lane, you're in his blueprint.
One woman can inspire a man, but the right woman, grounded in her energy, confident in her value, doesn't just inspire, she becomes a voice in his decisions. That's not manipulation. That's resonance. That's respect.
And that's exactly what we'll explore next, because once a man begins to include you in his decisions, something deeper begins to unfold. He starts revealing his vulnerability, not just his plans, but his fears, his doubts, his emotional landscape. And when he trusts you with that, you've entered sacred territory. Stay with me. You're about to see the kind of connection most only dream of. Number 7, he reveals his vulnerability without strategy. There's a shift in him that's so subtle, yet so profound. It doesn't happen during the big dates or the perfectly lit moments. It happens in between, in the pauses, the silences, the unscripted seconds where he forgets to protect himself. He starts telling you about things he's never told anyone, the regrets he still carries, the dreams he once abandoned, the fears he usually keeps hidden under confidence or casual charm. Not because he's trying to win you over, but because with you, his guard isn't needed anymore. Napoleon Hill wrote, "No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it." Vulnerability works the same way. A man won't open his emotional vault unless, on some deep level, he believes you can hold it, that you won't flinch when he shows you his shadows, that your energy won't judge him, it'll witness him. And that's exactly what your presence has become, a mirror, not of perfection, but of permission. This isn't performance, this isn't, let me cry so she knows I feel. This is unfiltered, unplanned softness. When a man begins to offer you his real, unpolished self, without asking for anything in return, it means his soul trusts yours. That's emotional intimacy. That's more than love. That's legacy.
So now that you've seen the signs, his shifting attention, emotional investment, inner peace, and growing vision, let this be your confirmation. He's more in love with you than even he realizes. Not because he said the perfect words, but because his soul is already moving toward you. Remember, real love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers through change. If this resonated with you, press the like button, subscribe for more soul-deep insights, and share this with a woman who needs to hear it. Because the language of love is subtle, but once you understand it, everything changes.